You'll loan your brother $50,000 until he figures things out, my father demanded. I answered, I won't. They pushed, so I destroyed them while I'm living my best life in Amsterdam. Sup Reddit. From where do I start? Basically, my family treated me like their personal safety net for 8 years. But this isn't your typical ATM son story. Trust me, the revenge is delicious. 2 years in the making, flawlessly executed. So darn satisfying that I'm still getting a dopamine hit just typing this out. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the show. I'm Austin, 31 male. Senior logistics coordinator at a Fortune 500 company, pulling down 140,000 plus bonuses. Not screw you money, but solid enough to live well. Max out my 401k. Have an emergency fund that could choke a horse. I'm the guy who reads financial blogs for fun and tracks every expense in Excel. My family never got that memo. Meet the cast of financial parasites. My younger brother Sean is 28. He's been the family's golden child since he learned to breathe. Different universe of rules since day one. When we were 14 and 11, I worked weekends at Murphy's Landscaping for $8 an hour. Saved up for a beat-up Honda Accord. Sean got a brand new Civic on his 16th birthday because he needed reliable transportation for college prep. I scraped together tuition money working nights at UPS. They dropped $80,000 on Sean's liberal arts degree at some pretentious private college. He majored in communications and minored in smoking weed. The favoritism wasn't subtle. It was surgical precision with a sledgehammer. So, Sean's been finding his passion since graduation 6 years ago. Pottery classes, cryptocurrency day trading, a podcast called Millennial Mindset that peaked at 73 downloads, drop shipping courses, life coaching certification, generally treating adult responsibilities like optional DLC. His girlfriend Megan, 26. Oh, that witch is a piece of work. She calls herself a lifestyle consultant on Instagram, where she has 1,247 followers. Posts pictures of her morning coffee with captions about manifesting abundance. She hasn't held a W-2 job since Obama was in office. I live in a decent 1,800 square foot townhouse. Bought it at 26. Paid it off by 29 through aggressive payments and zero social life. Sean and Megan rent a $4,200 a month loft in the trendy part of downtown. Exposed brick. Industrial lighting. A rent-to-income ratio that would make a financial advisor weep. Here's where it gets absolutely messed up. 3 months ago, I showed up for Sunday dinner at my parents' place. Same routine. Mom making her famous lasagna. Dad watching the PGA. The conversation started innocent enough. I'm setting the table when Sean walks in an hour late. Dude, you're still driving that boring Camry? He says, tossing his keys on the counter. When are you going to get something with actual personality? You drive like you're 70. It runs fine and gets 38 miles per gallon, I reply, not looking up from folding napkins. Megan wrinkles her nose. God, you're so content with mediocrity. Don't you want more out of life? I pause, silverware in hand. You mean like a $4,200 rent payment on a salary from the tire shop? Sean's building something, she shoots back. He's not just stuck. Yeah, brother, Sean jumps in, grabbing a soda from the fridge. When's the last time you took a risk? Did something exciting? You mean like paying your bills? Mom walks in carrying the lasagna. Boys, not tonight. Austin, honey, Sean just means maybe you could explore some opportunities. You've been at the same job for 6 years now. Same job that pays for half the stuff in this house. I mutter. What was that? Dad asks, finally looking up from the TV. Nothing, Dad. No, what did you say? Sean's voice has an edge now. I set down the plates a little harder than necessary. I said the same boring job that bailed you out last month when your landlord was being a total jerk about late fees. That was temporary. Everything's temporary with you, Sean. The rent money, the car payments, your job applications. Megan steps forward. At least he's trying to build something instead of just existing. Existing? I own a house. What do you own, Megan, besides a credit card debt and an Instagram account? Austin, Mom snaps. That's enough. Dad finally mutes the TV. The room goes quiet. I look around at all of them. My voice stays level, but there's ice in it. Sean, how much money have I loaned you in the past 2 years? Dude, don't. How much? Silence. And Mom, Dad, how many months did I cover utilities when Dad's hours got cut? Dad's jaw tightens. That's different. Right. Funny how that only flows one direction. Sean slams his can on the counter. Here we go. St. Austin, martyring himself again. You, St. Austin who pays for your phone plan? I'm gonna pay you back? When? Give me a date. An actual date. Jesus, Austin, why are you being such a jerk about this? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. I'm being a jerk? You show up here every week talking about my boring life while I subsidize your exciting one. Megan crosses her arms. No one's forcing you to help. The words hang in the air like a challenge. You're absolutely right, Megan. No one's forcing me. Dad doesn't like where this is going. Austin, your brother's trying to build a future here. Maybe instead of being negative, you could what? Write another check? I look at them one by one standing there like I owe them something. Austin's got dinner, right? I say. Austin's got the utilities, right? Austin's got the emergency fund, right? The room goes dead silent. Yeah, Austin's got everything, except a family that doesn't see him as a walking ATM. That's when it hit me. They never saw me as a son. I was their personal ATM. Well, time to permanently go out of service. Most guys would have gotten emotional and started throwing furniture. Not me. I went home that night and did what any self-respecting data analyst does when he wants to build a bulletproof case. I weaponized Microsoft Excel. I opened a new workbook, 8 years of financial autopsy, bank statements, Venmo transactions, credit card records, text screenshots, email chains, every loan, every emergency, every temporary favor that turned permanent. I worked until 3 a.m. building the most damning spreadsheet in family history. The Sean Chronicles, greatest hits, car payments when his credit score cratered to 547, rent assistance across 18 different months, investment opportunities, crypto losses, MLM starter kits, domain names, emergency vet bills for their designer Golden Doodle, credit card bailouts, minimum payments he couldn't make, just until my next client pays me, bridge loans, security deposits for apartments they couldn't afford, the family subscription service, featuring recurring nonsense, cell phone plan for Sean plus Megan, auto insurance add-on, streaming services, Adobe Creative, Spotify Premium, utilities bailouts at parents' house, mom and dad's temporary situations, mortgage assistance during dad's slow periods, mom's medical bills, elective procedures insurance wouldn't cover, home repairs that mysteriously became my responsibility, family emergency fund for various crises, property tax shortfalls. Grand total, $237,442. I stared at that number for a solid 10 minutes. I'd basically funded Sean's entire adult life while he played entrepreneur. I'd subsidized my parents' lifestyle while they praised their other son for following his dreams. But here's the beautiful part. I had documentation for everything. Screenshots of Sean promising to hit me back next week, bro, for sure this time. Email chains where mom laid out sob stories about dad's reduced hours. Venmo transaction descriptions like rent help will pay back Friday from 18 months ago. My personal favorite was Sean's most recent masterpiece, a 47-message text thread asking for $8,500 to secure prime retail space for Megan's wellness brand, promising to pay back my entire family loan by Christmas with interest. Christmas came and went. The wellness brand lasted until Valentine's Day. While I'm building this financial war crimes tribunal, Sean texts, like nothing happened, asking for $1,200 because their landlord's being a total jerk about late fees again. But this time, instead of opening Venmo like a trained seal, I texted back, no. His response came in seconds. Dude, what? It's literally just $1,200. It's literally just no. Are you seriously going to be like this over $1,200? Dead serious. The phone started ringing immediately. Sean first, then mom, then dad. Then somehow Megan got my number and called from what sounded like a Starbucks bathroom. I turned off my phone and went back to the spreadsheet. Every formula, every sum, every pivot table was another nail in the coffin of Austin's bank and trust. My buddy Julian from work came over the next day. He's the only guy I'd told about my family's financial parasitism. He looked at my data masterpiece. Holy cow, Austin. This is insane. This is 8 years of being too nice. What are you going to do? I opened a drink and smiled for the first time in months. I'm going to teach them what no looks like when you really mean it. Julian raised his can. This should be interesting. Phase 1, complete financial separation. Phase 2 was going to be legendary. I spent Saturday on binder day, printer humming, floor covered in bank PDFs like a crime lab. I pulled the Venmo CSV, highlighted descriptions where he wrote, rent, payback Friday, circled every Friday that turned into a Monday that turned into silence. Tabs down the side, loans, subscriptions, parents' house, asks, emergency. Then I built the vehicle. Apex Holdings LLC registered. EIN issued in 10 minutes. Boring banking name that sounds like hold music. I opened a separate business account, a P.O. box, a bland Google Voice line with a recorded message that says, "You've reached servicing. Please leave your loan number." I snapped the rings shut. The sound felt like locking a door from the inside. If it isn't in the ledger, it isn't real. 2 weeks of saying no to small requests. They deployed their nuclear option, the family intervention. Mom's text came on a Wednesday. Important family discussion about Sean's future this Sunday. Please don't let us down. I showed up with a pocket digital recorder. Old school tech, but lawyers love clear audio when you need evidence later. Sometimes the best traps are the simplest ones. They'd prepared like they were pitching to Shark Tank. Dad cleared the coffee table and arranged chairs in a semicircle. Mom brought out the wedding china like we were negotiating a peace treaty. Sean had a leather portfolio, the first time I'd seen him with anything resembling business materials. Dad launched into his opening statement about helping Sean transition to the next phase of his career. I asked what career. That wasn't the warm-up response they'd rehearsed for. Sean jumped in with this whole presentation about, I kid you not, launching a full-service social media marketing agency with Megan. They've got 3 potential clients already lined up. His buddy's food truck, Megan's yoga instructor, some guy they met at a networking event, office space picked out in a trendy complex downtown, business plan, profit projections, the whole 9 yards. Megan starts talking about their unique approach to brand storytelling, how they're going to disrupt the traditional marketing space. This from someone whose biggest professional achievement was getting 200 likes on a latte photo. Mom slides me Sean's business plan. 23 pages of buzzword salad with stock photographics and financial projections pulled straight from their rear ends. Revenue estimates that would make Amazon executives jealous. I flipped through the pages, kept my face neutral while the recorder captured every word. Finally asked the million-dollar question, how much do you need? Sean took a deep breath like he was about to propose marriage. $50,000. I almost laughed. It's really more of an investment than a loan, Megan chirped. We're offering you 15% equity in the company. 15% of nothing is still nothing, sweetheart. Yeah, I am not giving you 50 grand, brother. That's when the performance really began. Sean launched into his prepared speech. What do you mean you won't? Come on, dude. I never asked for anything big before. This is my chance to really build something. I believe you'll waste 50 grand in 6 months and come back asking for more, I said. Dad's fist hit the coffee table so hard. That's enough, Jacob. Your brother is trying to build a future here. With my money. Mom played the family card, talking about how we support each other, how Sean supported me emotionally over the years. I asked for specific examples. Silence. Then Sean got nasty. You know what your problem is? You're jealous. I'm out here taking risks, building something, while you sit in your boring job being boring. My boring job pays for your emergencies. I pay you back. Oh, here we go again. Show me one time you paid me back without immediately borrowing more money. Dead silence. The recorder was getting every second. Dad tried the authority play. You're going to help your brother, or you're not welcome in this house anymore. Perfect. The exact threat I'd been hoping for. Are you giving me an ultimatum? I'm telling you how it's going to be. I looked around the room. Mom dabbing her eyes with a napkin. Dad red-faced and pointing. Sean sulking like a teenager who got his Xbox taken away. Megan actually had her phone out, probably live tweeting this. Then I guess I'm not welcome in this house. I stood up, grabbed the business plan, headed for the door. Where are you going? Mom called out. To get some things handled. Sean yelled something about me being a selfish jerk as I closed the door behind me. Good. The next phase was about to turn their world upside down. Monday morning, 7 a.m. I executed Order 66 on the O'Brien family finances. Phone plan, called Verizon. Removed Sean and Megan. Effective immediately. Auto insurance. Sean deleted from my policy. Utilities at parents' house, canceled autopay. Emergency fund they had access to. Closed. Credit line I'd co-signed for Sean's business expenses. Terminated. Netflix password changed. Amazon Prime revoked. Every financial umbilical cord severed in 97 minutes. Then I sent the group text that ended an era. Effective immediately. Austin's bank and trust is closed. No loans, no emergencies, no temporary help, no equity, no exceptions. Figure it out like the adults you say you are. The meltdown was immediate and absolutely beautiful. Sean called 63 times in the first 2 hours. I watched every call go to voicemail while I ate lunch and caught up on work emails. His messages went through the 5 stages of grief and fast forward. Mom's texts were pure emotional terrorism. How she raised me better than this. How Sean was devastated and crying. How could I abandon my family when they needed me most? Dad skipped the manipulation and went straight to scorched earth. I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Don't expect any inheritance. They didn't have a son anymore. The works. But the real entertainment was watching their financial Jenga tower collapse in real time through social media and mutual friends. Day 2. Sean's phone service cut off mid-Instagram story about toxic family energy. Day 4. Their internet got shut off. Megan's wellness brand Instagram went dark. Day 6. Sean had to walk to the tire shop 3 miles away to ask if they were hiring. Day 9. Megan moved back in with her parents in the suburbs. Day 15. Sean took the job at the tire shop. First W-2 employment he'd had in over 2 years. Day 18. My parents' utilities started getting shut off. Dad picked up weekend shifts at Home Depot. Mom canceled her nail appointments. The beautiful thing about cutting off enablers is watching them discover they're not actually helpless. They just chose to be helpless because someone else was paying for their choices. Julian came by that weekend with updates from our mutual friend network. Dude, you're not going to believe this. Sean's working 40 hours a week. Megan's waitressing at Applebee's. Your parents are shopping at Aldi instead of Whole Foods. Good, I said. They're living within their actual means for the first time in years. But the texts kept coming. Sean hoping I was happy that I'd destroyed his relationship. Megan came back after 2 weeks. Mom saying they had to cancel their anniversary trip to Florida. Dad claiming Mom cried herself to sleep every night. I didn't respond to any of them. When people are used to controlling you with guilt, silence is the most devastating response possible. 3 weeks into the blackout, Julian dropped some interesting intel from his buddy, who worked at First National Bank. Your parents tried to refinance their house. Looks like they're behind on payments. That's when the best idea I'd ever had started forming in my brain. How far behind? 6 months, maybe 7. I smiled for the first time since this whole thing started. Julian, how do you feel about helping me buy a mortgage? Julian worked in commercial lending. His college roommate Aaron was a mortgage broker who specialized in distressed properties. One phone call, and I had the full story on my parents' financial situation. They owed $141,000 total on a house worth maybe $380,000. 7 months behind on payments, facing foreclosure in 90 days. Dad had listed me as a character reference on their refinance application. The audacity of these people was unbelievable. Aaron explained the process. Bank's gonna sell the distressed note to recover their losses. You can buy it through an LLC. Become the new lender. Set whatever terms you want within legal limits. Perfectly legal. Happens every day. 2 weeks later, I was the proud owner of Apex Holdings LLC and my parents' mortgage note. $141,000 cash purchase that felt like the best money I'd ever spent. They had no idea their son was now their bank. The RESPA servicer transfer notices went out automatically. Standard legal requirement when mortgage notes change hands. Mom called the bank confused about getting mail from something called Apex Holdings LLC. The customer service rep just explained it was routine paperwork when loans get sold between institutions. I waited 6 weeks before making my move. Let them get comfortable thinking maybe they'd worked something out with their new lender. Then I sent the letter that changed everything. Professional letterhead. Certified mail. Legal language explaining that their mortgage had been acquired by Apex Holdings LLC. Due to their extended delinquency, we were offering a forbearance plan to cure the default. $2,800 monthly for 12 months to bring the account current, after which we'd offer a permanent loan modification. The first call to the Apex line came before lunch. I let it hit voicemail, then called back on speaker at my desk. This is servicing, I said. Calls may be recorded. Dad launched into volume. I didn't match it. Here's the situation, I said. 7 months delinquent. We're offering a trial forbearance plan to cure arrears. $2,800 due on the first for 12 months. Make each payment on time and we'll follow with a permanent modification. Rate and term extended to a $1,200 principal and interest payment. Late fee is 5% after a 15-day grace period. This keeps you out of foreclosure and resets the clock. He tried the "you can't just" line. I use the policy line. We can offer a plan. You can accept or decline. If you decline, we proceed under the default clause. If you accept, it's in writing. Your choice. Silence. So if we make 12 on time, he said finally, you'll drop it to 1,200? If you make 12 on time and sign the mod packet, yes. He exhaled. Send the paperwork. Check your email in the portal. It'll require wet signatures. Keep your copies. I ended the call and logged the note like any other file at work. Outcome: accepted TPP. I don't need them to like me. I need the ledger to balance. Mom left a crying voicemail about being on a fixed income and not understanding how this was legal. Sean texted asking if I'd seen what happened to Mom and Dad. Some scumbag company bought their mortgage and jacked up the payment, saying it was predatory lending nonsense. LOL. I texted back, that sucks. Maybe they should ask family for help. The scrambling was immediate and desperate. Dad picked up a weekend security job at a warehouse. Mom started selling jewelry on eBay. Sean actually started contributing to their bills with money from his tire shop paychecks. Most importantly, they made every forbearance payment on time. $2,800 on the first, every month, for 12 straight months. Fear is a powerful motivator. After their successful completion of the forbearance period, I sent the loan modification offer. Due to their demonstrated commitment to the payment plan, Apex Holdings LLC was offering a permanent modification. New payment of $1,200 monthly. Extended term. Reduced interest rate. Dad called again, confused about why their payment went down so dramatically. I explained that Apex Holdings believed in working with responsible borrowers who proved they could meet their obligations. They still had no idea they were making payments to me. Every month, $1,200 went from their checking account into my LLC, from my LLC into my personal investment account. I wasn't trying to destroy them. I was teaching them a lesson. Julian came by one evening while I was reviewing the monthly payment receipt. You realize this is kind of messed up, right? What's messed up is spending 8 years funding other people's poor decisions while they treat you like garbage. Fair point. What's the end game here? I looked at the payment statement. Oh, buddy, what's coming next is going to be legendary. 18 months into being their secret lender, Sean called with big news. He and Megan were getting married. Spring Creek Country Club. 3 weeks from Saturday. Mom was paying for everything. Apparently, business was good enough at the tire shop that he could afford a wedding, but not good enough to contribute to the cost. You should come, he said. I know things have been weird, but it's my wedding day. Family should be there. Family. Right. I'll think about it. 3 weeks later, I walked into Spring Creek Country Club, looking like I'd stepped off the cover of GQ. Custom-tailored charcoal suit, Italian leather shoes, fresh haircut, the confidence of a man who just checked his investment portfolio and seen nothing but green. The whole extended family was there. Aunts, uncles, cousins who only showed up for weddings and funerals. Sean looked nervous in his rental tux. Megan looked like a Pinterest board came to life in that fancy dress. Mom started crying when she saw me, saying she couldn't believe I came, and maybe this meant we could start over. Dad shook my hand like we were business associates meeting for the first time. The ceremony was basic wedding template stuff. Sean and Megan exchanged vows about supporting each other's dreams and building a future together based on love and trust. I sat in the back row, checking stock prices on my phone like I had somewhere more important to be. I made small talk with relatives, deflected questions about my mysterious absence from family events, waited for the perfect moment. It came during the best man speech. Sean's college buddy Brad was rambling about following your dreams and Sean's entrepreneurial spirit when I stood up from my table. Excuse me, can I say something? The room went quiet. Sean looked confused but nodded. I walked to the front, took the microphone from Brad, looked out at 180 wedding guests. I'm Sean's older brother Austin. I want to tell you all a story about family, dreams, and what happens when those dreams are funded by other people's money. Sean's face went white. Megan grabbed his arm. I explained how for 8 years, I'd loaned Sean and our parents over $237,000. Car payments, rent money, emergencies, business ventures that never materialized, always with promises to pay me back, always temporary. The room was dead silent. 18 months ago, I continued, Sean asked me for $50,000 to start a social media business with Megan. When I said no, our parents gave me an ultimatum. Fund Sean's dream or I wasn't welcome in their house. I chose door number 2. Funny thing happened after that. My parents started missing their mortgage payments. Their bank sold the distressed note to a private investor who offered them a forbearance plan to avoid foreclosure. I paused for dramatic effect. That investor was me. Dad's mouth fell open. Mom gasped audibly. Sean looked like he'd been hit with a taser. For the past 18 months, I explained, I'd been their lender through Apex Holdings LLC. Every mortgage payment they'd made went to my business account. Every dollar they thought they were sending to some faceless corporation was actually coming back to me. The wedding guests were staring like this was the most dramatic episode of Jerry Springer they'd ever witnessed. But here's the thing, I said, looking directly at Sean. I'm not actually trying to destroy you. Your mortgage payment is now $650 less than it was originally. You're saving money every month because I believe in family helping family when it's earned, not demanded. I handed the microphone back to Brad and walked toward the exit. Congrats, Sean. Then I walked out like I owned the place. My phone exploded with calls and texts within minutes. But I was already in my car, driving toward the airport. Time for the final phase of the most satisfying revenge plan ever executed. Julian was waiting at departures with a coffee and a grin. How'd it go? Better than I ever imagined. Ready for Amsterdam? I looked back at my hometown one last time. Let's get out of here. Amsterdam is paradise when you're not subsidizing other people's poor life choices. I'd been planning the international transfer for months. My company needed someone to head up European logistics operations. My boss jumped at the chance to send his most reliable director overseas. $180,000 salary, housing allowance, relocation package, full expat benefits, 4,000 miles between me and the family drama. I landed at Schiphol on a rainy Tuesday morning, took a taxi to my company flat in the Jordan district, immediately felt like I could breathe properly for the first time in years. 3-story canal house, 1,200 square feet, rent paid directly by corporate, just me, my career, and a city full of people who don't know or give a darn about my family dysfunction. Week 1 was orientation and logistics. New office, new team. Learning the public transit system that actually works. My phone stayed mostly quiet. Exactly what I wanted. Week 2, the messages started trickling in. Mom sent photos of their house with captions like, "Home isn't the same without you," and "We miss you so much." Week 3, Sean texted updates nobody asked for. Megan and I are doing really well with our jobs. Thanks for asking. I hadn't asked, wouldn't ask. Month 2, Dad made his first attempt at diplomacy. Your mother misses you. Maybe we can talk about this like adults. Adults don't threaten to disown their children for refusing to enable bad financial decisions. But sure. Month 3, the apology tour officially launched. Mom claimed she'd been doing a lot of thinking about everything that happened. Maybe they weren't as considerate as they should have been. Sean admitted he wasn't the best with money, but was trying to do better. Dad said family is family, and we should be able to work through this. Megan said she never understood how much I helped them, and it wasn't fair to me. Month 4, the messages got more specific and desperate. Sean claimed he'd saved up $4,200 toward paying me back, was keeping detailed records of everything he owed. Mom mentioned they'd been making all their mortgage payments on time. They'd learned their lesson. Dad got a second job to help catch up on money they owed me. The beautiful irony was that they weren't paying me back. They were making their mortgage payments to my LLC. Every dollar they thought was going to some random investment company was actually going into my business account. Month 5, boom, they figured out I was in Europe. Sean asked if I was living overseas now, after someone saw my LinkedIn update. I'd posted exactly one professional headshot with Amsterdam as my location. Apparently, that was enough detective work for them. Month 6, the guilt trips went industrial. Dad claimed Mom's health was suffering from the stress of losing me. Sean said they had to skip Christmas presents to save money for paying me back. Mom said she dreamed about me coming home and us being a family again. Every message was a masterclass in manipulation, but I'd built immunity to their tactics. I was dating a brilliant Dutch marketing executive named Iris, who pays her own bills and has never asked me to co-sign anything. Living my best life. Month 8, Sean sent the message. Austin, I figured out you own our mortgage note. I'm not mad. We deserved it. You tried to help us for years and we treated you like garbage. I don't know if you'll ever forgive us, but having to actually work for my money has been the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm sorry it took losing you to figure out what I was throwing away. I read that message 3 times. Then I deleted it and went to get stroopwafels. Some apologies come too late, but I wasn't angry anymore. 2 years in Amsterdam. Life has never been better or more profitable. The European logistics position turned into regional director for Northern Europe. The salary went from great to absolutely ridiculous. I bought a weekend place in the Dutch countryside. Solar panels, organic garden. My Dutch is conversational now. I've got a solid friend group who invite me to dinner because they enjoy my company. Iris and I moved in together last month. She's brilliant, successful, and has never once asked me to spot her for anything. The monthly mortgage payments kept hitting my LLC account like clockwork. $1,200 every month, on time, for nearly 2 years. Whatever else was happening, they were too scared of losing the house to miss a payment. Then, 22 months into my Amsterdam life, they played their final card. Sean somehow got my work email and sent me a message with the subject line, "You won. Let's end this." The email was different from their usual nonsense. It felt too easy, too clean. Sean doesn't give up. He just changes tactics. I was right to be suspicious. 2 weeks later, Julian called me from the States. "Dude, you're not gonna believe this. Sean and your parents filed a restraining order petition. They're claiming you've been harassing them from Amsterdam." A restraining order. Based on what? I hadn't contacted them in over a year. "Gets better," Julian continued. "They're also filing a civil claim saying you're mentally unstable and they're concerned for their safety. They want the court to force you to sell them back their mortgage note at below market value because you're holding it hostage." The beautiful thing about false accusations is that they require evidence. When you have no evidence because nothing happened, the truth comes out real fast. My attorney back home, Kathleen, called me that afternoon laughing. "Austin, this is the most incompetent legal filing I've ever seen. They're claiming you threatened them. They're literally asking a judge to force you to contact them because your silence is emotionally abusive." The restraining order hearing was scheduled for the following month. I flew back to the States for the first time since the wedding. Sean, Megan, and my parents were there with their bargain basement lawyer looking like they'd just discovered fire. The lawyer, Chad Brimley, showed up carrying a briefcase that had seen better decades. I showed up with Kathleen, a senior partner at one of the state's top firms, carrying a briefcase full of documentation that was about to end this war permanently. The judge looked exhausted before we even started. She was 28 years old. Clearly had better things to do than referee family drama between adults who should know better. Chad started with their sob story. Poor family being terrorized by successful son who stole their home and was psychologically tormenting them through financial manipulation. He kept mispronouncing psychological. Then Kathleen stood up. She presented the complete financial history. $237,000 in documented loans over 8 years. 0 payments made. Evidence of their escalation campaigns. "Your Honor, my client purchased a distressed mortgage note through legitimate channels. The O'Brien family has made every payment on time for 24 months. They claim to be afraid of Mr. O'Brien, yet they continue to live in property secured by a note he owns and make monthly payments to him. This appears to be an attempt to use the court system to force a below-market transaction on an asset they can no longer afford." Judge Moore looked at Chad like he'd brought a crayon drawing to court. "Counselor, do you have any evidence of threats or harassment from the defendant?" Chad shuffled through his papers. "Well, Your Honor, his refusal to communicate with them has caused significant emotional distress. You want me to issue a restraining order because he won't talk to them? The isolation is a form of psychological abuse, Your Honor." Judge Moore actually laughed. "Counselor, are you asking this court to order someone to have a relationship with family members who owe him over $200,000? Chad's face went red. "Well, when you put it that way, that's exactly how I'm putting it. Because that's what you're asking for." The hearing lasted 23 minutes. Judge Moore denied their restraining order, dismissed their civil claim with prejudice, ordered them to pay my legal fees under the state's frivolous litigation statute. But the real devastation came after the hearing. The court proceedings were public record. Court documents and transcripts started circulating on local Facebook groups and next door within hours. Someone posted screenshots with commentary about the family that tried to sue their way out of paying back loans. The posts included details about the $237,000 in documented loans, Sean's history of financial irresponsibility, the failed court case. They went viral on local social media within hours. Sean's employer at the tire shop saw the social media posts and called him into the office that same afternoon. He got fired for bringing negative attention to the business. The community shaming was absolutely brutal. My parents had been living in their neighborhood for decades. Now everyone knew they'd been financially dependent on their son while trying to publicly destroy him. The social media response was merciless. Someone created a Facebook group called Sean O'Brien Court Case Commentary. These people posted screenshots of the court documents with commentary like, "When you try to sue your brother for not giving you more free money, and imagine being so entitled you think he won't talk to me, qualifies as harassment." Sean tried to delete all his social media accounts, but screenshots live forever. The beautiful irony was that their attempt to use public shame as a weapon had completely backfired. Instead of making me look like the villain, they'd exposed themselves as entitled parasites to their entire community. Within a month of their failed court gambit, they'd lost their jobs, their community standing, and their last shred of dignity. But the most beautiful part? The legal fees I was awarded under the frivolous litigation statute totaled $18,500. Since they couldn't pay, it was recorded as a judgment lien against the property, which I already held a mortgage on. I effectively held another lien for $18,500. They still had to make the monthly payments. Last month, I arranged for them to refinance their mortgage with a local credit union that paid off my LLC's note in full. Standard terms, market rates, clean slate. They'd proven they could handle their finances like adults. So, they gotta be adults. I kept the $28,800 in payments they'd made over 24 months, plus the $18,500 legal judgment. Call it interest and penalties on the $237,000 they'd borrowed over the previous 8 years. The family ATM is permanently closed for business. Austin's bank and trust will never reopen. But Austin, the brother? There might be room for one relationship built on actual respect instead of financial exploitation. For guys asking about the legal stuff, everything was legitimate. Distressed mortgage note purchases, LLCS legal fees, all standard business, had documentation for everything. Followed all laws, kept detailed records. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well while letting other people destroy themselves. I'm still in Amsterdam, still crushing it. Stay strong, gentlemen. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.